probably ended up being at the time, he would have been one of them. He was 5-2 as a pitcher, including one of those wins against the Central Spartans, which he struck out 16 batters in 6 innings. He ended up hitting just about 400. He led the team in RBIs, and he is a very, very good center fielder. Just a great all-around baseball player. So. Next would be our catching Cody Arella. He was a first-team All-Star. Very first player mentioned. Him and Tim, when they looked at me, they're in. And quite frankly, I should also mention at this point in time that Tim would have been probably the starting pitcher on that All-Star team. But yeah, you had to pick one or the other, and they decided to use him as a center fielder. Cody led the team in extra base hits. He was an all-around field manager. As a catcher, he called very good pitches. He was just a great player, a great hitter. Hit a home run this year in St. Peter's at the Recplex. Even when I was helping Kurt coach AAA, I never saw a ball hit out there, but we did as a freshman. Certainly a highlight of the season. Cody hit well over 300, drove in a lot of runs. Was our third hitter all season and was a great catcher. The other starting District 9 was Jared Cashin. Jared was a player that I knew was a good pitcher. I watched him pitch at our tryouts last year. I watched him pitch at high school this year. I knew he could hit. I didn't realize how well he could hit. He ended up hitting over 400 for us this year, led the team in average, and also was 4-1 as a pitcher. Unfortunately, we didn't go quite as long enough in districts. We didn't get him a district game, but he was a very good all-around player. First team, he would have also been a first-team pitcher had we not chosen to put him in the outfield. Jared Cashin. Start with Dusty Norton. 17 outfielder, hit well over 300. Was a very solid pitcher for us. Won the only district game that we won. And again, just a very solid outfielder, hit well over 300. Had to move him around. He was one of those players that had to make an adjustment on the field. Pretty much played third base when he wasn't pitching in high school. So he did well. Played outfield, got a little bit on the infield, but not much. But was also a very good pitcher. Second team was Tim Riley at third base. Tim, another very solid baseball player. Defensively, he was as good as anybody on the infield in our league. He would have probably been a first-team All-Star if, in fact, probably the best offensive player as a freshman that I've ever seen. Third baseman from St. Charles, from Port Zumwalt West. So he had to take second chair to him. The guy had 60 RBIs in the freshman season. But anyway, Tim was a great player. Pitched for us quite a bit, with a little bit of tough luck as far as the wins and losses go, but a very good pitcher for us. Hit well over 300. Tim's claim to fame, besides being a good hitter and a good fielder and a good pitcher, he got hit 11 times this year by pitches. He probably got a mark for each one of them. At first, I just thought he was unlucky, but it turns around, he just stands in there and takes it like a man. So. And our other second team was Brian Getkus. Brian was the only player that didn't try out for us last year. I left the spot open, and after watching him hit at Duchesne this spring, decided to see if he'd like to come play with us. He did. He lived up to his abilities, hit well over 300. I probably overlooked his defensive abilities because I had it set in my head for him to hit, and plus we had so many catchers in Crawford Duchesne. Probably would have liked to get him in the field a little bit more, but he's certainly a left-handed hitter, hit the ball hard, and was a real asset to our team. All right, our two honorable mention, not honorable mention, alternates. First is not here, Lenny Toko. He was our shortstop. Lenny was basically our team leader on the field. He's a very, very good baseball player. As it is with most baseball teams, young baseball teams, it tends to be that one of your best players is always a shortstop. he was certainly good enough to be a first or second team All-Star. Unfortunately, just when you have all those teams, and a lot of teams are best players at shortstop, he ended up being a third, an alternate. But anyway, Laney was a very good player for us. And then I knew I'd forget something here as we move on. Oh, Kelly Moser, who is not here tonight either, unless he came in late. I didn't see him show up. Kelly was a very, very good outfielder for us. Did not quite hit for the high enough average to probably been any higher, but he also led our team in stolen bases as one of the fastest 15-year-olds I've ever seen. So that rounds out the guys who were the All-Stars. The rest of the team, we have Jack Alcorn. Everybody on this team contributed. Some of the boys had a little struggles this year offensively. The move to wood bats was a little difficult for some of them. Jack would be included in that group. He hit the ball hard a lot of times, but just never seemed to quite find the holes later in the season. However, he was our best offensive player in our first tournament. He came through with some big hits for us. So that's Jack. Also, I will quickly say, if we gave out a sportsmanship award, Jack would have won it. It's tough being the coach's son sometimes, even for a coach who's keenly aware of that. Sometimes your expectations for your son. We had a game, second game of a doubleheader this year in Bowling Green. A team that is good, a team that we on a regular basis should beat. They came up with a real good pitching performance in our first game and we got lost. In the second game, with the bases loaded, Jack was batting, and thought I heard a click, something going on at home plate. I saw Jack arguing a little bit with the umpire, and then I saw him get back in the box. Ultimately, he ended up striking out. And as I was walking by, the umpires were talking. And my assumption was that Jack got hit. He was trying to argue that to the umpire. Quite frankly, it turned out it was the other way around. The umpire said he hit, and Jack told him he didn't get hit by the pitch. And at first, I was not very happy about it, to be honest with you. But after thinking about it, here I am. I'm upset at him because he's an honest man. And I'm like, you know, that's the worst thing he ever did. I could do worse, that's for sure. So anyway, that's behind us now. All right, after Jack, we got Sam Bethman, who is not here. Sam had one of the big highlights of the year. He pitched our second game against Central, pitched a marvelous game. Gave up just 2 runs on 3 hits. I think both those runs were unearned. He did not quite hit as well during the season as he would have liked. He was a very good high school hitter this year, but certainly had his moments, and that pitching performance was one of the best of our year. Cale Ohms. Cale, come on up. Cale was one of our 8th grader players that made it this year. Obviously, he's got very good skills. He did not hit as well as he would have liked to, but he is a great defensive player. And as an 8th grader, he'll get another chance to play the freshman. Now you get a little experience. You've stepped up to a little bit higher level of pitching. You expect him to do good things. One thing I will point out, there is such a thing in baseball, especially with these wood bats, is a productive out. He drove in 12 runs this year on 5 hits with no sacrifices. Every time somebody was on third base, he got the ball in play and got the run home. So, thank you, Cale. Ryan Payne, The Rock. Brian also is an all-star caliber player. Unfortunately, at first base, you tend to have some of the best players around. He did not quite make it there. Rock hit close to 300 for us, hit the ball hard. He's not the fastest player in the world, but he has great hands and a very, very good baseball player. Look for him as he gets a little older here to be a very good power hitter. He hits the ball on the line now. He gets a little older, a little stronger. Some of those balls are going to leave the ballpark. Sam Sluter, who is also not here. Sam, another very good player from St. Charles, had a good freshman season. Sam was a starting shortstop at St. Charles High on the freshman team, which, again, we had 4 shortstops. We already talked a little bit about Lenny Toko and his abilities at short. So Sam didn't get to play that position very often. but he played the outfield. He moved wherever I needed him. He never complained once, which is hard to do when you're used to playing a position, and all of a sudden you're doing something different. But Sam was a very good player for us too. Had some big hits in some big games. Chris Setzporn. Chris, another all-around team player. Starting shortstop on his high school team, made the adjustment, played a very good second base for us, played in the outfield. Had a rough pitching outing the very first time out, but by the end of the season, we were putting the weight of the team on his shoulders. We played a very tough game. Our last game against St. Peter's, we ended up on the losing side, but he kept us in the game. It was a great game, and again, Chris had a good season. One of them again hit the ball very well with aluminum bats. Wood was a little bit of a work for him, but because you can't just hit the ball hard with a wood bat sometimes. But he's a very good hitter, and look for him to do a lot of good things in the future also. And that brings me to Andrew Weiss. Andrew, the other 8th grader we had on the team this year. Again, hit the ball very well at times. Overall, did not hit it as well as he probably would have liked to. Andrew is a very, very good outfielder. Next to Tim Evans, he's the second best outfielder we had on the team. He also is got very good stuff as a young pitcher. Had struggled a little bit with control at times. Pitch counts got up a little quick on him. Probably part of it stepping up and playing at a little bit higher level. The strike zone's a little more pure, as we should say that you see sometimes in Little League. But he did have a shutout in that second game in Bowling Green. One of the highlights of the season, a very good, well-pitched game, and pitched well for us all season. So look for him again to do good things. And the last one is Ben Wilson, who I guess is not here tonight either. Ben was from St. Charles West. He would obviously like to hit the ball a little better than he did, but Ben was a good attribute to the team. Ended up being a very good backup catcher, defensive-wise, and did anything that we asked him to do. So anyway, this is the freshman team. I am very proud of them. We started off a little rough.